Welcome once again. We've reached the heart of the course. I can just hear some of you saying, finally, but we're here. Thanks for watching the previous lectures and working through the exercises. You now have the knowledge and experience necessary to understand the process for change that I'm about to describe. However, if you happened on this video without viewing the previous ones, you're not likely to understand what I'm saying and will go away confused and disappointed and feeling this whole exercise is useless, which it will be if you don't understand all the previous videos and the material that's been presented. Please take the time to prepare yourself before watching what follows. It will be well worth your efforts. Success depends on understanding this lecture thoroughly, so you may choose to watch it in its entirety first and then start again, pausing or stopping the video until you thoroughly understand what has been covered. Take all the time you need. This material is designed to be with you for the rest of your life, so there's no hurry. Now let's get down to business. What I'm going to suggest is, like chess, simple to learn but difficult to master. Improving your mental health is a matter of replacing a problematic basic belief with one that is consistent with an inborn intention. That's simple enough. But a basic belief is considered problematic when it's contrary to an inborn intention and generates behaviors that adversely affects you or those within your sphere of influence. Basic beliefs can be replaced in three different ways. The first happens without conscious effort. As we grow, mature, and age, sometimes our attitudes, perceptions, outlooks, and basic beliefs may change, usually without any conscious awareness. This is a slow process, and there is no assurance that beliefs will change at all, much less in a desirable direction. When problematic basic beliefs persist, it's proof positive that the underlying belief has not changed. The second way a basic belief can change is automatic, sudden, and permanent. It occurs when you have an epiphany. Dictionary.com defines epiphany as a sudden intuitive perception of or an insight into the reality or essential meaning of something, usually initiated by some simple, homely, or commonplace occurrence or experience. You've probably experienced this yourself. Something happens that causes you to suddenly change your perception and understanding of the topic. Having an epiphany is not uncommon, but it cannot be relied on to replace a problematic basic belief. There is no known mechanism for arranging for an epiphany, it just happens. And again, there's no assurance that an epiphany will improve your mental health at all. It may or it may not. The third way to replace a subconscious basic belief is to make a conscious decision to do so. This is slower than an epiphany, but it's faster than growing old. Some preconditions are necessary before making an effective change. You must first recognize and accept that you have a thought, feeling, or behavior that stems from a problematic basic belief. Secondly, be aware of and avoid potential obstacles and the defense mechanisms that those obstacles will throw up. Thirdly, you must be willing to invest the time and effort that change requires, and of course, from the standpoint of what I'm trying to suggest, be familiar with the following three-step process for change. Well, finally, here we go. Step 1, introspection. Introspection is used to bring a subconscious basic belief up to consciousness and express it in words. This means to look inside yourself to determine the cause of your thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. To do this, conduct a conversation between your thinking brain, your conscious mind, and your subconscious mind. While it's possible to do this mentally, it is much better to use pen and paper to express your questions and answers. Otherwise, you're likely to get lost in a tangle of thoughts that will emerge. Begin by asking yourself why. Why do I think, feel, behave in a certain way? Note that if you attribute the cause to anything outside yourself, you've missed the point entirely. The answer is always going to be a basic belief internal to yourself. It is your belief about an event that results in your behaviors, not the event itself. I'll use the following situation to illustrate each step in this three-step process. Imagine that you're in a committed relationship, but find yourself continually deferring to your partner by always agreeing, making excessive efforts to please, and rarely expressing your own opinions, your thoughts, or your desires. It's been that way for months or years, but now you recognize that your relationship is deteriorating because of it, and you resolve to change. In this instance, the process of introspection might go something like this.
Why do I always defer to my partner, even to my own detriment? I always defer to my partner because I want to please him. Why do I always want to please him? I'm afraid he'll stop loving me if I don't please him. What would it mean if he stopped loving me? It means that I would be crushed. My world would be ended. What does this fear mean to me? It means that without his love, I'm worthless.
Now you've reached the core basic belief behind many of your behaviors. You believe yourself to be worthless. Don't judge the belief at this point. Your only task in step one is to express this subconscious basic belief consciously. Accept that the belief exists regardless of its merits or lack thereof. This is, of course, only a brief example of bringing a subconscious basic belief up to consciousness. In practice, you may need to ask yourself more questions, but make sure the final answer actually accounts for the behavior in question. It is not simply a rationalization. You're not simply making up an excuse. Mull over it. Think about it. Refine that basic belief clearly in your thinking brain. Step two. Step two is composition. Back in step one, you brought a basic belief up to consciousness. Now, determine which of the four inborn intentions is involved. In our example, of course, the basic belief, I'm worthless, is inconsistent with the inborn intention of human dignity. Step two is to consciously compose a basic belief that is consistent with the related inborn intention. It will also be contrary to the original problematic basic belief. What would this look like in our low self-concept example? The statement, I am a worthwhile human being with human dignity, would be consistent with the inborn intention of human dignity, and it is certainly contrary to believing yourself to be worthless. Note very particularly now that you have just set up a conflict within yourself. You've composed a basic belief in your thinking brain that is consistent with an inborn intention, human dignity, but the old problematic basic belief, I'm worthless, is still stuck in the subconscious. It has not been replaced simply by making the affirmation. If it did change, you've had an epiphany. That would be nice, but probably didn't happen. The affirmation itself did not make it so. And without step 3, it never would. No matter how many times you make an affirmation, it is not going to change without step 3. And step 3 is practice. Basic beliefs have all been learned through experience. So new experiences are required to embed a freshly minted cognitive belief into the subconscious. Simply verbalizing a cognitive belief by making an affirmation is insufficient. However, by practicing behaviors consistent with the new belief, change will take place subconsciously. You will know the subconscious change has occurred when you no longer have to consciously choose to act in ways that are consistent with your thinking brain concepts. You just do so automatically. Recall the basic premise that behaviors stem from basic beliefs. Once you affirm your own human dignity, you are free to practice behaviors that reflect this belief. In our illustration, you would replace passive behaviors, those that are consistent with a low self-image, a low self-concept, with those that are assertive, which stem from a positive self-concept. In practice, do this by expressing your own feelings, opinions, needs, and wants. Make a statement. Note that good communication skills will greatly facilitate this process. Acting assertively may be uncomfortable at first, but after consistently doing so for a relatively brief period of time, assertive behaviors will become automatic and you will no longer have to think about choosing them. The new basic belief, I'm a worthwhile human being with human dignity, will be in place and you will find yourself automatically acting assertively. Congratulations. There you have the process for changing a basic belief and thereby improving your mental health. Introspection identifies a problematic basic belief, and composing a new cognitive belief sets the stage for consciously practicing new behaviors until that thought becomes a part of your basic belief inventory. Mental health needs to be considered with respect to each of the 4 inborn intentions. Over time, question your behaviors, your thoughts, and your feelings about yourself, about your freedom to choose, about your accomplishment. What are your basic beliefs about the outside world? Note that you can be mentally healthy in respect to one inborn intention, but have a problematic relationship with another. It is possible to be perfectly mentally healthy with respect to human dignity. However, it is not possible to have a perfect mental health relationship to sense of accomplishment, freedom of choice, or love, because other people are invariably going to be involved with these activities. The dynamics of interpersonal relationships and the requirements of living in a civilized society are such that we must make some adjustments or compromises in our beliefs and behaviors in order to function smoothly in society. Nevertheless, mental health is enhanced by making your beliefs and inborn intentions as compatible as possible in these 3 areas, even if applying your beliefs must be somewhat compromised. Do so, though, as infrequently as possible. For instance, there will always be conflict when competing for the same resources. This in itself is not a mental health issue to hold differing viewpoints, but it is a mental health issue to use deception, coercion, violence, threats, or fear in the pursuit of a goal. Why is this a mental health issue? Because such tactics disrespect the human dignity of an unsuspecting victim. Finally, your assignment, and as always, you know there would be one. For this lecture, we will do something that we've delayed doing throughout this series, but now you're ready. Select a problematic behavior. Bring the underlying basic belief up to consciousness through introspection. Determine which of the 4 inborn intentions is involved. Consciously construct a new basic belief that is consistent with the involved inborn intention and is contrary to the problematic belief that you have brought up to consciousness. Finally, practice behaviors that are consistent with this new construct and repeat these behaviors until they become automatic. Next, please join me for one last video in this how-to series, where I'll take the opportunity to offer a few thoughts on the art of living. In the meantime, remember, the quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of your mental health. Bye for now.